buying $50 billion more food than we're selling. That means now that we are dependent on foreign countries to feed us. Avocados come in from Mexico, that's product of Mexico. Now, this beef from Argentina doesn't follow that. When that beef comes in from Argentina, they can grind it up into hamburger and package it and sell it as product of USA. That's horrible. If we want to lower the price of beef so y'all can sell brisket, we can do that overnight.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Smokeless. I'm Nick. Of course, we're here with Justin and Wayne. We're joined today by the Commissioner of the Texas Department of Agriculture, Mr. Sid Miller, who put out a press release last week calling for urgent action to save Texas barbecue. Commissioner Miller, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We're coming off of a deep dive conversation with Bill Bullard, who is the CEO of RCAF. He didn't pull any punches. He called the current beef market functionally broken and warned that the chickenization of the cattle industry, where ranchers basically become low-wage employees for the packers, is nearly complete. We're all certainly glad that you've pivoted from focusing on regulating our scales in our restaurants and instead stepped into the ring with your Save Texas Barbecue and America First beef policy initiatives, which are calling for emergency action to protect our state's cultural treasure. But here is a problem. For a pitmaster, brisket is non-negotiable cornerstone of our menu. It's also our lowest margin item. The guys working Texas's barbecue pits are looking at a 3 to 5 year horizon before the U.S. cattle herd can recover and prices might level off. What is the emergency action for barbecue joints that need to make payroll this month while our customers are walking away from a brisket plate because it's simply too much? We want to know if the state of Texas can actually move faster than the federal government to help us keep our doors open, and if so, how?
First thing, very seldom do I disagree with President Donald Trump. He said he's going to lower the price of eggs. Price of eggs came down. He's going to lower the price of gasoline. It came down. Says he's going to lower the price of beef. You can bet he's going to lower the price of beef. I just have a disagreement on how we do it. He announced that we're going to quadruple the number of imports, beef imports from Argentina. Well, that's two problems with that. Number one, that's not America First. That's not, building American jobs and shoring up the ranching industry. Two, it adds to our agriculture trade deficit of $50 billion. First time in my lifetime, we have an agriculture trade deficit. Thanks to Biden, his crew didn't sign one marketing agreement. None. Not any new ones, but we lost our current customers. So America's always been the breadbasket of the world. We feed ourselves and a lot of other people, but not under Biden. We're buying $50 billion more food than we're selling. So that means now that we are dependent on foreign countries to feed us. That we've got to turn that around, and we're working real hard at the Department of Agriculture to make that happen. So it's not America First, and it increases our agriculture trade deficit. But I didn't just complain. I had some suggestions how we can rebuild the beef herd. I said, number one, we're still in a drought. We don't have any place to. When we run out of grass, we have to sell our cows. They go to the slaughterhouse, turn them into hamburgers. So another thing that Biden did was cancel grazing leases on federal land. So now we have 24 million acres of idle grazing lease. So I suggest first thing we can do is open that up so we have a place to put our cows and maybe even keep back some heifers to build a cow herd. So they did that. They opened 5 million acres. I think they're fixing to open some more of that. So that's good. A good first step. Now we got a place to go with the cows and we don't have to sell them. Number two, I suggested to give an incentive to ranchers to hold some heifers back and build a herd. And I suggested a heifer retention tax credit. It's not a bailout, not a subsidy. It's just simply take $500 per head and take it right off your income tax. Just give yourself a deduction. Some of these ranchers are finally making some money, and boy, do they ever deserve it. They could use the tax break. If you give them $500 a heifer, they'll hold some back, I promise you, and the herd will start growing. That's the best thing we can do. And then, I told them, look, we got to be transparent. We got to be truthful with the American consumer. Every product you buy, with the exception of two, has country of origin label. Avocados come in from Mexico. says product of Mexico. If you buy grapes from Peru, it says product of Peru. Now, this beef from Argentina doesn't follow that. When that beef comes in from Argentina, they can grind it up into hamburger and package it and sell it as product of USA.
Right.
Can you believe that? That's horrible.
Right.
We've got to stop that. Do the same thing with pork. So people are going to buy Argentine beef thinking it's from the great American ranch. It's not, and it's low quality. It's terrible. Actually, the only thing we're buying is lean, and we'll mix it with American tallow, American fat, because we've got lots of fat cattle or trim off our fat cattle. So it's two genetically different types of meat are going to be mixed together and sold as product of USA. That has to stop. And then we need a lot of these profits are not from the rancher, but from the packers. So I requested that Trump do an investigation on the 4 big packers, especially the 2 foreign-owned ones, for price fixing, collusion, monopoly, and they're actually doing that too. There is an investigation into these big packing companies to see if they're dealing us a good hand or not, and they may or may not, but we'll get to the bottom of it and find out.
That seems to be a big part of the problem is the imported beef. They're bringing that in at a discount, but still charging the premium prices for it, and it's hurting the ranchers and it's hurting the consumers in the restaurants. And the only people benefiting from it are the packers.
Well, I'll make a prediction. This beef that we're going to bring in from Argentina, the margins will be made by the processors. It won't be a saving to the consumer. It just
Exactly.
won't. I don't think it's going to drop the price of a hamburger. It certainly hadn't yet. So we'll see. And it's really, in the big scheme of things, it's not a significant portion of our hamburger supply. It's less than 0.1%. So it's really hard enough to move the needle. The only thing it's going to do is make the beef processors a little more money.
You use the word racket to describe the control that the foreign-owned meat packers have over our food supply. And as the agricultural commissioner for the largest cattle producing state, do you believe that Texas has the antitrust teeth to go after the packers independently if the DOJ can't get it done?
Well, I don't, it doesn't really need to happen at the state level. It needs to happen at the federal level because, there's a lot of feedlots in Nebraska, Oklahoma, Colorado. I mean, we're not the only ones that feed cattle. So if you're going to get it right, we need to go to every plant where they're doing this and hold them accountable.
Yeah, Wayne, you had a great point about that earlier.
Thinking about this as a Texas institution, at least barbecue establishments, even though this is anecdotal, I don't actually have numbers to substantiate this. I know that a lot of us will receive our brisket from, say, Cisco or Benny Keith or Performance, and these supplies come from one of the 4 packers, and they generally seem to come from out of state: Nebraska, Kansas, maybe even Iowa,
Colorado,
some from Oklahoma. How can initiatives here actually affect the prices that we're seeing, that we're purchasing, that we're buying? And that may have a lot to do with just the Angus variety or the Angus program that we're buying from. Do you have any input on that?
Well, we do some things here in Texas a little different to promote locally grown, locally sourced. We have a marketing program called the Go Texan Program.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a branded program, and you can assure if our logo, it's Texas with the circle around it, that is a Texas product. If that's a Texas brisket or Texas meat, and we're encouraged a lot of farm to consumer selling. Matter of fact, I have changed my cattle operation. I used to just raise cattle and sell them at the local auction barn, but now I raise F1 Wagyu, and I've got my own little feedlot, and I feed them out and sell them directly to consumer. I get a premium for it, and they get a better buy than they could get, buying that premium beef at the grocery store. So we both win. So we're doing a lot of that to try to get around these big packers. We've got a lot of independent packing plants that have popped up. across Texas. Those are increasing. So we're encouraging that. And, it all changed after COVID. I call them COVID mothers. They want to know where their food comes from, and they want to know what's in it. And so this locally sourced, local supply is a thing that's that we can, if we want to do a little extra work, it's not without a little extra effort, we can capitalize on that.
The problem that we have with that is, generally speaking, the smaller ranchers and the niche or cottage ranchers just don't process enough cattle for our needs for us to be consistent across the board on that brand. I mean, there's only 2 briskets per cow.
Yeah.
So, if you're only processing 100 cows a week, then it doesn't really help us.
My point was, I wasn't just specifically saying brisket, but a family of 4 can buy half a beef, and they'll get a brisket with it, but they'll also get some roast and steaks and fajita meat and everything else that they'll need to feed their family.
Uh-huh.
And it's locally sourced, and they know what's in it. No antibiotics, no hormones. It's grass raised and grain fed. So it's a superior beef. Gives us another outlet, was the point I was trying to make.
And I guess that's Texas's version of mandatory country of origin labeling, having the Go Texan program, right? It's telling everybody where it comes from. But I'm curious. Bill Bullard said that the mandatory country of origin labeling was one of the first and most crucial steps to try to change the tide here. During the brief window when McCool was mandatory in 2013 and 2015, American beef was actually, earned a premium because consumers had the information to choose that. And I'm wondering if you can succeed in making the country of origin labeling mandatory again. We're worried that it might make the price go even higher, or do you believe that the market transparency would balance that out in the long run, or, could it backfire?
Well, I don't think it'll make that much difference in price. And matter of fact, consumers will probably pay a little extra to know exactly where their meat's coming from.
Okay.
It's we actually have the Biden administration put in a country of origin piece of legislation. The problem is it's voluntary. I mean, it's useless. It's absolutely useless. We have a country of origin labeling on beef and pork now, but it's strictly voluntary. So, no one has to do it. They're not going to do it. It just doesn't.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't a fix.
I noticed that one of the things that that you had suggested and you just talked about is opening up government state-owned grasslands for grazing. But the drought in South Texas seems to have a big impact on both all sorts of agriculture in the valley, correct? Not only that, but Mexico not fulfilling our water treaty. And so we're having problems with that as well. I think one of the suggestions you had was maybe desalination.
Well, we're doing that. There's actually 20 cities across Texas that are using desal. None of them are on the coast. I live close to a city called Granbury, Texas. It's on the Brazos River, and they have Lake Granbury, but you can't use the water out of that. The Brazos River is salty. You can't irrigate out of it. You can't use, so they put in it's not as salty as ocean water, so it's pretty cheap to clean up. So they put in a desal plant, and they're able to use their lake water, which was not an option before. We're winning the war with Mexico. We finally got them to come around, thanks to Donald Trump's tariffs. He had threatened them with tariffs. They are now releasing water that they've held back. They've agreed to pay their overdue bill and complete the next 5 years in a timely manner. So there's 2 lakes on the Rio Grande River, Lake Falcon and Lake Amistad. So in the last 2 to 4 weeks, both those lakes have risen about 2 foot. That's a lot of water. And not only are they releasing water into the lake, usually they would own half the water in the lakes, and they've given us a large portion of the water that's in the lake that rightfully was theirs, but they're deeding it over to us. So
what do you think are there any specific actions that the federal government needs to take in terms of addressing this with the beef packers? I know that there have been a number of lawsuits and settlements in the past that didn't seem to have an impact. What do you think needs to happen in order to really turn this around?
Well, you're absolutely correct. There's been some civil lawsuits, big fines paid, but not big enough to hurt those guys. So this is a federal investigation. It's not a civil suit. So they possibly come in and break up the monopoly is what the final outcome out of it could be. Now, if we want to lower the price of beef so y'all can sell brisket, we can do that overnight. I don't know if anybody has the courage to do it or not. Our cow herd, we get about 15% of it every year from Mexico. They just walk over. We buy those stalker calves. They run on our wheat fields through the winter, and we graze those out. Some of them will go straight to the feedlots. We'll fatten them up, feed them our corn, use our labor, and then we sell that meat back to Mexico. Well, we've got a invasive pest called the screwworm down here, and November 24th, we shut it down. We opened it for less than a week. Every year we get about 1,200,000 head. So we're starting our second year, about 4 months. So we probably got 1,500,000 head backed up down there that we could bring over and fill our feedlots back up. Our feedlots are running 60-70% capacity. We actually closed a packing plant in Nebraska because there wasn't enough cattle to keep it operating.
Right.
We usually run 2 shifts in Amarillo. They're cut back to 1 shift, laid off 1,700 people. So the cow-calf guys, scream bloody murder if we open that border up. But actually, it will hurt them in the long run, too. As long as it's closed, cattle will remain high. But at some point, Mexico's going to scratch their head and say, hey, what are we going to do with all these cattle? We need to expand our own feedlots. Let's build some more feedlots. Let's grow our own corn. Let's feed our own cattle. Let's process them down here. And then we lose one of our best customers. And then we're worse off than we were before. So we can open that border up. There's some anti-parasitic drugs like ivermectin. Everybody remembers that from COVID. It has a residual like 48 days. We've got another one called Dectomax, works very similar. And that will prevent any infection of screwworms or cure any if they have them, actually. So we could have a protocol that anything comes in has to be dipped for ticks and parasites, but it also needs to be injected with this ivermectin, product like ivermectin. And matter of fact, I proposed a pilot program to do just that. Instead of just opening the border and bringing across, 1 million to 2 million head and flooding the market and not sure that our protocols are working, we get our rodeo cattle out of Mexico for the team roping and steer wrestling and things like that, horn cattle. And there's about 15,000 of those down there, not 2 million. And we need those. They last us about 6 months. We have to get some more. So we've been without about 18 months. So we're having to cancel a lot of events because we can't get the rodeo stock. So I said, let's open it up on a trial basis to these rodeo cattle, these Corriente cattle. That's what the breed is, Corriente. And bring them across. Let's see if we can get them across safely without infecting, herds with the screwworm. And while we're at it, let's just open it up to horses. We only import about 80 horses a week. Surely we can get, make that happen without dropping the ball. So they were about to do that and about had them talked into it. And then the screwworm moved about 800 miles north and showed up just south of the Rio Grande River. So that's off the table now. We might get back to that if we can stabilize it or push this screwworm back down into southern Mexico.
The decision to allow those cattle to come in, is that the decision made within the state of Texas, or are you working with the federal government to get that done?
It's a USDA decision. I run the export pens. Any cattle, any livestock that leaves Texas goes through my export pens. I do not operate the import pens. USDA operates the import pens. It's two separate operations. We take care of the exports. Federal government takes care of imports. So it would have to be at Brooke Rollins level, Secretary of the USDA.
Do you think we're doing it enough to fight the screwworm? I know that this was a problem in the 70s and then it was eradicated, but it seems like the numbers of sterile flies being released right now is much lower than it was. And, the USDA said that it could cost the industry $100 billion due to animal deaths and movement restrictions. Is the border secure enough right now to protect our
No,
herd?
no, it's not. And we have the technology to secure it, but we're just not doing it. People have said over and over that we eradicated the screwworm using sterile flies. Well, actually, we didn't. That's not how we eradicated them. In 1975 was the last time we had them. We had 29,000 cases in Texas, infections, 29,000 infections. And USDA developed a fly bait, just like you can buy at the hardware store.
Mm-hmm.
And they deployed this screwworm fly bait and killed 95% of the screwworm flies. Then they came in with the sterile flies behind that and cleaned up the rest of it. So in the summer of 1975, 29,000 cases. We put out the fly bait. In the spring of 76, we had 47 cases. We wiped them out. But USDA is reluctant to use the fly bait. I met with Mexican officials, officials from all 11 Central American countries came to my office. I sat down with them. I laid out the research, showed them how the formula was put together. They were elated. They'd been trying to make a fly bait, this whole time, unsuccessfully. They were trying to use liver, and liver is just not. This is a man-made product, just 10 items right off the shelf that you mix together. And so they took my research information back, and hopefully they'll come up with a bait on their own. So far, USDA has not embraced putting out fly bait.
So I want to reroute just a little bit and get back to the a barbecue specific conversation. We've lost some barbecue joints since the beginning of the year already. It's a pain point that a lot of folks are talking about. How will we be able to survive this long with kind of no clear light at the end of the tunnel? The post-COVID Governor Abbott participated and still does in the Texas Music Incubator Rebate Program, which is a state level tax rebate to protect live music venues. What if Texas barbecue is truly heritage and an economic engine? Why not a similar capped performance-based rebate for barbecue joints during extreme cattle cycles? Is that something that's been talked about?
Not really. Texas is just, we're different than a lot of other states would embrace that and do it. Texas, we just don't subsidize businesses. We don't subsidize farmers. We really don't subsidize anybody. It's just kind of the Texas thing. You got to, and a lot of Texans won't take charity. They just don't want a handout. The farmers, you'll ask them and say, no, I don't want a handout. I want to make a profit. That's how I want to stay in business. The problem in Texas is, brisket's king. Southern states, East Coast, pulled pork, everybody loved it. Not here. I mean, it's brisket, baby. This is brisket country. We don't eat pork.
Yeah.
We'll sell some sausage. We like our sausage, but it's mainly a brisket steak. That's when you talk barbecue,
right.
It's that brisket that pops in your head.
Yeah.
Not chicken, not pork, not salt. It's brisket.
And we've talked about that, and they've looked at a bunch of different ways to try to diversify the menu. And at the end of the day, 60% of our food cost is brisket, and that's the one thing that everybody wants when they come through the door. It's impossible to eliminate, and still have yourself be considered a Texas barbecue place.
That's what I order, and I like mine moist, guys. I don't like the dry stuff. I like it moist.
You've done a lot to point a spotlight on this issue with the press release and some of these initiatives that you've put out there. What can we do, or as a community, a restaurant community in Texas, to help raise the profile of this with the federal government to try to have some action that will get us out of this problem faster than 3 to 5 years it takes to rebuild the herd?
Well, the herd is actually on the rise in Texas. We're rebuilding our herd. The numbers show that. Other states still aren't. So, unfortunately, there's not a quick fix. We got the price of eggs down real quick, but, one hen will lay an egg every day, and it takes 28 days to hatch it out. So one hen can be responsible for 350 more chickens in a year. A cow, it's one calf per year. So it's a slower process.
And then 3 years.
We have to start. We could actually, if we did that heifer retention tax credit, those heifers would have calves in 18 months to 2 years. That would really help. If we open the border, that would be 2 million head. That would really, really help. So those couple of things will probably make the biggest difference in the long-term rebuilding the herd.
Do you consider the tax credit to be similar to a subsidy, or do you think that the ranchers view it that way as a handout, or do they view that as a benefit?
A subsidy is taking money out of the treasury and writing you a check.
Okay.
That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when you get to the end of the year. Well, let me put it a different way. So, the average couple raising kids, they fill out their income tax and they get ready to turn it in. They get a child tax credit of $1,000 for every child in the house that's under 17 years of age. They wouldn't say that's a subsidy. They say I'm getting a tax credit. I'm getting a write-off because I'm trying to raise these kids, and America wants me to help me raise these kids. So it works like that. When you get to the end of the year and you've kept 10 heifers back, we're going to just take $5,000 off your income tax.
Mm-hmm.
So it's money that never really hits the treasury. It just stays in it doesn't come out of your pocket and go to the treasury and come back. It just stays in your bank account.
But as you said, those calves would still not be here for a few more years. So that's between now and then, at a rate that we're losing barbecue joints now. It's how are we supposed to keep our head above water while keeping the tradition of Texas barbecue at the level where it is, where people literally travel from all over the world to come and eat here? And
all I can tell you is there's 4 million briskets standing on the Rio Grande River down there, boys.
We need to get them. We need to get them over here somehow.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned earlier that the price of brisket could be lowered overnight. What were you talking about there? What was the mechanism for doing that?
Well, bringing these cattle in from Mexico.
Okay.
You could actually crash it. I mean, the market could go off the limit if you just opened it up and said, "Bring them on in." Oh my gosh, it would go. It would be a wreck. We don't want that. We want it incremental. A little bit at a time. Spread it out over 4-6 months, and let the industry absorb it. We just can't open the floodgates. We'll wash the whole city away.
I see the benefit in it, but it just seems like it could drive the prices higher in the long term because of the biological life cycle of a calf and what it takes to get it to market.
You're talking at least 18 to 24 months.
Right.
At the fastest, and realistically could be 18 or 24 to 32, 36 months.
So what grade are most of the cattle in Mexico that would be brought over? Are they mostly select?
I get that a lot. The cattle that come up here are, with exception of the Corrientes I talked about, most of those they have improved their herds. They've come up here and bought our bulls, and we've sent them semen, we've sent them embryos. They've really improved their herds. Those cattle that come across are equivalent to Texas cattle for the most part. I'd say 90% of them will grade choice coming out of the feedlot.
They're bred. They're bred for dry climate, right?
Right.
So they're not going to put on a lot of fat generally.
You'll see a lot of Charolais, Red Angus, a lot of light-colored beef breeds, European breeds. Not a lot of Angus because of the heat down there, and a lot of them will have a little bit of ear. But used to, they would be brown Swiss and Jersey crosses, and standard, about the best they would grade. But they've really improved their herds down there. It's not that way anymore.
In order for people to enjoy moist, just like you like it, it has to be a high choice or better. And so even though there is a lot of brisket that's sitting on those cows just south of the border, there may not be many that we can utilize.
Oh, I think the quality on them, you utilize them. Another thing we hadn't really talked about, but the briskets are a lot bigger than they used to be. I don't know if y'all noticed that or not, but usually the cattle coming out of the feedlot, we finish those around 1,150, 1,250 pounds. But beef is so high now, we're feeding these cattle up to 14, 15, 1,600 pounds. They're monsters coming out. Now, those briskets are huge. You can split them just about. They're so big. And so our cattle numbers may be down, but our poundage is not down proportionate because we're that same animal is producing another 20 to 30% pounds of beef overall coming out of the feedlot because we're just letting them grow a lot larger because of the shortage.
I know that also provides a challenge for steakhouses with their standardized cut sizes. Having extremely large lobes means that they have to cut each hand cut steak thinner than they used to.
That's true.
Just to meet the weight sizing, which then makes it more difficult to prepare a medium rare steak over just a medium well steak. Going outside of standardization, even though yes, there's greater tonnage that's coming through in processing, it doesn't necessarily transfer well. Even for us, bigger briskets isn't always better.
Right.
Our processing, the way we cook, and our cook schedules are really dependent upon having a fairly tight window. Say a 10-pound to 15-pound brisket size. Outside of that, it starts taking too long, which now we have to incur higher labor costs, and we have higher loss yields just because of more fat loss.
That's right.
So that it complicates our formula, our prime cost a bit more by having these larger briskets. And we go through that seasonally. We see it in the wintertime. We'll oftentimes see larger briskets come through than we do during the summertime. Particularly if, those of us using Black Angus, where those cows just don't like to eat when it's hot. The challenge is they're very nuanced that we're facing. It's not an easy predicament to be in. We appreciate any and all assistance coming from any source at this point in time to try to help us, alleviate some of these pressures. And I think we all agree that at some point in time, adjustments are going to have to be made if we plan to stay in business long term, to accommodate even size differential, just to make sure we can keep that product on the menu consistently. It's just one more challenge for us. I don't know that everybody is prepared to take on.
The problem is no one else has grain-fed cattle like Texas and the rest of the American states do.
Yeah.
So if we imported brisket from Brazil or Australia,
yeah, it's not going to be as
fast.
It's
not going to work.
No, we'll have to turn to hot and fast grilling kind of South American style beeferys. We'll go from barbecue to live fire. We'll have to transition that direction.
Well, Commissioner, you're talking to potentially hundreds of barbecue joint owners all over Texas and everywhere else who listen to this podcast. What do you say to them, many who are struggling to make payroll, having staffing issues, trying to do everything to keep the lights on? What are the next 3 to 5 steps or the very first impact we'll see? What's the message of hope for the barbecue joint owners in Texas?
The message of hope is that the beef herd is growing in Texas,
okay.
and it's going to start soon in other states. I would encourage you to be, think outside the box. To try to come up with new innovative ideas. To increase your, maybe start a delivery service. Maybe, I don't know,
pulled pork,
some kind of specialty holiday meats. Package you could put out there. I'm not in the barbecue business. I'm in
Sure.
farming and ranching, but same principles apply. When times gets tough, you got to change your ways. You got to do something different. You can't do the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome. So, but I tell you what, Texans are really in barbecue people fit right in there. They're really resilient. We hit challenges, and Texans figure out a way to make it work. We may lose a few of them, but most of them, they'll make it. I promise you, they'll make it. They'll figure it out. They'll adapt. They'll overcome. They'll improvise, and they'll meet the challenge.
And this has been very helpful, and we appreciate everything that you're doing to help us.
Yeah, especially bringing notoriety to the problem. Understanding that, there are larger forces that can potentially help us in some way or fashion, short term, long term, whatever, gives us more hope, helps us, keep striving and not just be so quick to cash it in.
Guys, I'm doing everything I can, coming up with every idea I can think of. Every tool in the toolbox I'm throwing at this problem, and they're taking some of my ideas, and some of them they're not. But I don't see anybody else doing anything. I mean,
Right.
It's just nothing's happening.
Yeah.
We got to try something, even if it's wrong. We got to get off our butts and get out here and hustle a little bit.
We've been talking about this since August, and the problem's just gotten worse since then. And that's why it was such a relief to see your Instagram post and to see that there was somebody out there that was paying attention and willing to do something to take some steps to fix this. So
thank you, guys, and I wish you well. Hang in there. Good times are just around the corner.
Thank
We
you,
hope so.
Commissioner.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you,
do hope
Commissioner.
so. Thank you
very
Commissioner.
much.
You bet.
Well, guys, two pretty great guests to give us some answers about the questions we've had over 2 episodes now. Do you guys feel any clearer about the situation, or I feel like I've learned a lot. Whether or not I know the answer to why, I feel like I've learned a lot.
Well, that's part of what this podcast should be about anyways. It's a journey of discovery, right? Everybody's learning with us
Yeah.
as we learn more.
Right.
And so this has been great educationally. But I don't think this story is over. I think there's still more to be uncovered, especially how do we address it and what do we do about it?
Yeah. Justin, say something smart.
I mean, it seems hard to get a clear cut answer, and you don't have a clear view. Seems like there's a lot of smoke and mirrors right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can clear that smoke and get a clear view of what's going on, then maybe we'll make some progress.
Yeah. And guys, listen, as always, we have an email address. You can hit us up, hello@smokelesspodcast.com. Send your comments, concerns to us at hello@smokelesspodcast.com. If you guys have shirts that you think you'd like to see Justin in other than the Green Hall shirt, send the shirts to 1618 West Commerce Street in Dallas. He'll get the shirt there. Although I do love Green Hall and I do love that shirt and I do love
Extra
you, Justin.
large.
Yeah, extra large. I'm not being a dick. I love Justin with all of my heart, and I'm glad that he pulled over and made this happen today. He's on the road, y'all. He's on the road, but he did it. He's on the side of the street right now. We just got to have faith and hold on, though. You guys, now more than ever, it's still really important to support your local barbecue joint, wherever it is. Please go buy some brisket, buy some gift cards, buy some stuff off of goldbelly.com. Have it shipped nationwide. It helps, I promise, more than you'd ever know. Right, guys?
100%.
We're all on Goldbelly, so grab something on there if you want. Grab some beef ribs from the famous Louis Miller. Grab some of Justin's famous sausage. I'll be glad to send you some ribs or a mother clucker. I'll stop saying probably won't stop saying I'm going to say more. Guys, y'all want to say goodbye or anything?
See y'all next time.
As always, thanks for
Cheers.
joining us on Smokeless. We'll see you next time.